Welcome to Gary's Graveyard Ramblings, and this is episode 12C. Now, that might sound a bit weird, but it's mainly because I've had two previous aborted attempts at trying to get this bloody thing out, and this is the third and final attempt. If it says this doesn't work this time, then I'm giving up. I'm starting outside the graveyard today because I wanted to point out something rather unusual, and it's this tree on our village green. See, this one here is known as Elizabeth's Oak, because back in 1500 and frozen stiff, Queen Elizabeth I, she was travelling down to Rye, which is that way, and she was obviously knackered after the long trip from that London and decided to rest against a tree. And I'm assuming she didn't sit on that bench, because if she had done, it would have been a little prescient, because it's representing the First World War, given that the memorial is there. So she wouldn't have known about that, but look, the oak is still here. I'm not quite sure what the brick wall bit is there, because she definitely wasn't buried there. That much I can say. Now, that's history over and done. Elizabeth, mind you, I will say that in terms of resting against a tree, she probably isn't the only old queen that would have been up against a tree in this village in the past. Now, I will reveal myself, I promise, in a moment when I get into my normal position in the graveyard. You're not used to seeing this walk up to the front of it quite this way. But I'm taking a risk because this is the afternoon. Now, normally I shoot my graveyard videos at sparrow fart, first thing in the morning when the mists are hovering over the fields, and it's a very creepy most scene. But it's much warmer now and much noisier, and there are a lot more people around. So I have to keep my fingers crossed that Gary's Graveyard Ramblings today doesn't end up being interrupted. So I'm walking down to I'm going to sit on the bench today because I'm a little bit tired, and I'm not going to go around the back by Dracula's graveyard. No, not graveyard, Dracula's gravestone. There's the general look you see there in his sarcophagi. I don't think he's in. I don't know, he might be. Who knows? And there's all my friends over there. And normality has resumed. Now I'm going to sit down on my bench and tell my stories for today. Now, it's been a busy week, actually, what with Putin's... In fact, no, you weren't expecting that, were you? Putin's failed attempt. No, not Putin's failed attempt, it was Prigozhin, wasn't it? Prigozhin's failed coup. It's known as a coup, incidentally, because if the birds have flown, it's a coup. If the insurrection succeeds, then it's a coup, because everyone stands around in the streets as the tanks roll by and go, coup, coup, look at that. Any roader, what are we going to talk about today? Well, the first things first, I want to mention my friend Keith Flippen over there in the US of A. He lives in a place called Norfolk, Virginia, which I described in one of my earlier takes as being in the Midwest. And then I went home and the wife said, I think you better look at your atlas again, because it's not. And I wasn't exactly sure where Virginia was. I knew it was west of Middlesex and probably not in Wales or Ireland. So I did a check, and yes, indeed, it's on the East Coast. So Keith, I'm very sorry about that. And I'm going to recommend you to look down. I don't know if you're getting this, but I'm going to put a link to Keith's wonderful video blog called Superfluous Traveller. And it's much more professional than this rubbish that I churn out every week. Please do go and watch it. It's very moving in a way. His is genuinely moving. The only place mine moves people to is the toilet to throw up, I think, probably. But do please look in. Lovely guy. And who knows, we may even do... I quite like the idea of doing a joint thing one day where we can sort of compare experiences, his acting experiences over there against my laughable attempts over here. And that kind of leads me on to one thing that I was going to tell you about. And I did an earlier take of this, and it suddenly occurred to me that my ramblings are quite parochial, aren't they? I make lots of references that probably people in other parts of the world will have no idea what I'm talking about. And probably there are people in this country that won't have any idea what I'm talking about either. But who knows? Who cares? For my birthday, which was a couple of weeks ago, where I turned years old, I mentioned I got a wonderful present. The wife gave me a copy of the Spotlight Actors Directory from 1962. And I loved it in particular, really, because a lot of the people that I knew when I first broke into the acting profession over here are in there. I had a bit of a passion for getting in with the old actresses because their stories were so fabulous. One particular old actress that I was very fond of was a lady called Joan Geary. I acted with her in a play, I can't remember what it was now. It was something at the Riverside Studios in West London. And she was great. She was very refined, very quiet, very dignified, and filthy stories. She told me the best stories. And she was a bit of a chain smoker, and she liked a bit of a drink, did our Joan. So you can imagine, along there was me, there was Barbara Kao, lovely Barbara Kao, Jane Partridge, and Joyce Parry. Joyce Parry is in the book in 1962, so is our lovely Barbara. I'll see if I can find some pictures of them. I don't know how to edit these things, actually. Keith would know. I don't. And anyway, Joan told me this great story about when she was in the Mousetrap. Now, the Mousetrap had been running, I mean, it had been running for God knows how long, even back in the 60s when she was in it. And a bit of a rite of passage, really, I suppose, because most actors over here at some point probably will end up doing a year in the Mousetrap. It's a bit like soap operas, you know, a bit of a rite of passage. And the name of the manor, the house in this Agatha Christie play, is Monkswell Manor. Monkswell Manor. And Joan told me one day, she was about 8 months into the run and bored silly, and she was sort of really going on autopilot, I suppose you could say. That doesn't sound very professional, does it? But you know what I mean. If you had to do the same thing, you know, twice a day for God knows how many months, it must drag just a little, just a whimsy. And so she's standing in the wings, waiting for her entrance to Monkswell Manor, having a coffee. I'm probably not a fag, but I'd be surprised if she didn't have a fag on, because she normally did. But anyway, so she's sitting there drinking her coffee, what have you there, and she missed her cue. And one of the stagehands came up to her and said, "Joan, your cue, you're on. Go get on." So she, in a bit of a flap, trying to find somewhere to put her coffee, which she'd been enjoying, she put her coffee down by the side, went up to this the other side of this big door where she made her entrance into Monkswell Manor, and she rapped on the door, and the door opened with a very bemused looking actor the other side of it, because it was late, and Joan said, "This is Maxwell House, I presume." Maxwell House, by the way, for those people abroad, is a brand of instant coffee. So you can see the link there. Joan said I was mortified. She said, but not as mortified as the actor on the other side who didn't have a clue what I was talking about. And that's what I loved when I looked at this book. So many beautiful, beautiful photos of actors. This is the actresses one, actually. Back in those days, we said actresses. I think everybody likes to be called an actor now. Don't think we delineate on terms of sex, gender, whatever it is this week anymore, and we just refer to each other. But back then it was actresses, and there was sort of an element of respect about it all. You know, there are lovely photos which I'd never seen before. I mean, the book is about 5 feet thick. It's huge. And even as actors, and I've been in Spotlight over here as an actor for the past 40 years, and I've never seen a physical copy of the directory, because we don't get to see it. The actors don't get it. We get proofs, so we know what our entrance in the book looks like, but we don't actually get the book, and they're very, very rare. There are beautiful pictures of Hattie Jakes, Joan Sims, Joan Hickson, and many, Irene Handel, Esme Cannon, all the actresses that I've loved and adored over the years in photos I'd never seen before. So it was a fabulous birthday present, and I'm very, very happy with that. How the hell did I get onto that? I have absolutely no idea. But then, this is a rambling. I think actually I'm going to leave it there for this week. I have no idea if the coup will end up being a coup in Russia, how that's going to end, who knows. But I whatever happens, I hope it's peaceful. Do remember to check out Keith's video blog site, and perhaps next time this one might be even a little more interesting. And I'm going to change my sign off in this one, because I've been signing off using the same, you see, external influences. I've been signing off using the lovely Spike Warden's bye-bye way of signing off, and I suddenly thought, well, that's not very good, is it? I ought to be more original than that. So I'm going to pinch Frankie Howard's line from now onwards and end all of the graveyard ramblings with this message. Salutè.